October 4th, 2021. It's 5 o'clock exactly in the Selma City Council chambers. The teleconference phone number, if you'd like to join that way, is 1-301-715-8592. The ID is 823-3399-2546. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Guerra.
Here.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro.
Here.
Councilmember Trujillo.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho.
Here.
Mayor Robertson.
Here. Potential conflicts of interest. Any council member has a potential conflict of interest may announce the item now and recuse themselves from discussing or voting on the matter. Oral communications. At this time, any member of the public may address the City Council on any issue within its jurisdiction, but not on the agenda. No action or discussion will be taken on any item not on the agenda. Issues raised will be referred to the city manager for review. Members of the public shall limit their remarks to 3 minutes. I'd like to say at this point, we will begin our City Council workshop session.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. The item before you today for today's workshop is a continuation from an agenda item August 16th. It's our user fee study update. What we did with city staff, with all department heads, is kind of work through the process again and work backwards. So the last time we've actually updated the study was back in 2005, using the same organization as we did today, RCS. Chu is here to help us with this presentation. Again, we're just going to go through an overview of the document itself, and look at some of those changes and why we came to those changes to get us a fresh starting point and move us forward. Okay, I'll turn it over to Chu. Thank you.
Members, council. I have a presentation to present to you, and I was hoping Ray help me with that. Got it. The last time my partner was here, and he discussed about the principles and the methodologies of a user fee and cost allocation plan. Today, I'd like to go over, kind of like lead you more into information about that. And we're here to go over any kind of fees, any kind of question you have about that, so that you can make a good informed decision. Okay, so right here is our findings. So I'm going to go through one by one. The first one is building permit fees are only recovering about 70% of the cost. And I'll go into details about that. And of course, the objective of every fee study is, or the city should be full cost recovery for that service. Development fees adjusted to reflect changes in services through the 15 years, of course. Planning processes change, staffing changes, and the City of Selma staff wanted to make a more efficient process. So we looked at that and figured out how much time it takes to do that. Removed unused fees since the last fee studies. When we came back here, we're like, are you still doing this? And like, no, we don't do that anymore. So this would be a cleanup of your master fee schedule, removing some of the fees that that are still on there that we don't need anymore. Similar to that is leisure and cultural services. We modernized it. Some structures, there were several layers, and we minimized that to one. Just makes more sense. Some fees we added in there. One is at the theater, and we'll talk about that as well. And finally, I believe we mentioned this before, $293,000 in possible cost recovery. In my opinion, that's about 15 years worth. It's very reasonable. What staff does a good job with is adjusting year by year CPI increases, but what we always see is that the CPI never captures the full cost of city services or the cost of the city. So when you're talking about 15 years, that's about $20,000 more, or $20,000 behind each year, or about 5% spread among all the years. Okay, our overall objective is to capture the left should stay on the left, the right should stay on the right. I believe my partner showed this last time. But what we see now is the $293,000 that we could possibly collect from the fees is not. So it's being paid somewhere, and obviously is being paid out of the tax revenues that you see there. And if we were able to realign it, then that $293,000 you are freed up to provide it to community supported services. Okay, next slide. I do want to talk about this slide. This one's interesting. You can see on the left side that Prop 13 property taxes, like within a year, dropped, and I believe it dropped about 40%. So cities were really hurting that year. And the next, can you click next one? And it took the state 25 years just to catch up to the same level of property taxes. So maybe back then the city were collecting too much property tax. That's one story. But what you can see here is that there was a lot of property taxes that was no longer coming to the cities, and city had to struggle to stay afloat. And what they did is on the right side is you can see the impact of adding new taxes, utility taxes, hotel taxes, local sales taxes, and this is all around. You could see that. And so what you can see is a diversification of that. And I also put in there end user fees too, because that is a new effort that came out of this. And what we want to do with the user fee is be accountable for it. We measured how much staff time it takes. We measured what the full cost of it is, and we identified the users from that. And what we want is to say that you use the service like anywhere else, so here's the cost of that. And then it's up to the city council to determine whether 100% cost recovery for that service is appropriate. Okay, next slide. So you've seen this before the last time, just kind of summarize here. What I notice here is really well is the column that's bolded in percentage is 90.2% cost recovery. That's really good for Selma. And I guess I'll pat myself in the back as well as the city of Selma that we were involved here 15 years ago and we promoted cost recovery, and it looks like you're still in it. And that's good. So again, to me, the $293,000 behind or labs or subsidy is not bad. And again, you spread it among their, that's reasonable to assume. Next slide. I want to give some examples and kind of have the dialogue about how the fees are calculated. I think my partners did that last time, Eric, and I want to say it again. So this one's building plan check inspection CD001. This one, there's certain methodologies for calculating the full cost of services. And this one, we looked at it has to be at the aggregate level for building because there's so many variables like how big's the project, how many inspections, so forth. So what we looked at is the total cost, who's involved in building plan checks and inspection. And we have here a little bit of fire marshal, the building planning tech, the contract planner, building inspector, and so forth. So our full cost of the service is approximately $356,000 is the bottom right number. Okay. Next slide, please. And what you see here is I highlighted that on top is the average revenue that's, looking at your revenues received from building and building plan check and inspection is about $248,000. So when you compare the $248,000 and $356,000, the cost recovery right now is 70%. So our suggestion is to increase it by 45% to be full cost recovery. And our thought of that is it's still reasonable. We looked at this compared to other communities, and it's still a reasonable number at the higher number. Okay, next. So this one is good too, because this one is not a mandated fee, but we calculate out, you already have this fee on your schedule. And this is called the preliminary project report, CD 030. And what it is developers or builders want to come in, they have a project, but they're not submitting a formal application yet. They meet with staff, and this helps both parties. The staff have an idea of what it takes to, or the staff has an idea of what the developer or the applicant wants, and the city staff can help tell them, why don't you change this, shape that, or we think this is a good project, move it forward. And so we identified all those who are involved in that, total 11 hours, and the cost is $2,130. That's the full cost. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, you have this fee on top, $2,820. That's the current fee, and it's actually higher than what we calculate out to be. So our suggestion is actually lowering the fee. And on top of that, we had a dialogue with staff, and we said here 50% fee recovery or fee credit if formal projects submitted within 180 projects. Because an applicant would come in, maybe they're uncertain and they're not ready yet, but they want to submit something. But after talking to staff, that gives them a little bit more confidence that they can move forward, and they'll get credit towards the formal application. This is a good process to engage the community or engage the developers. Next slide. Okay, risers, I talked about the theater, the risers. This is something that's new also that staff is doing. They've been doing it lately for projects. It doesn't happen that often, but for them to move the risers out for an event and then later on move it back, you can see it does take a lot of time, like 8 hours of city staff time. We didn't measure like the cost, any damage, wear and tear, and that. We just assume it's typical. So that's about $400 there. And that is a suggested fee. I believe. Next slide, please, Raina. Yeah, none right now, and the suggested fee is for $10. Okay, so I wanted to show you different methodology, different policies as we develop the fees. Slide. So the subsidy questions, what we always have or other communities have is like, how much should we subsidize? And we always look at who does the service benefit. Does it benefit an individual? When I do a bathroom renovation in my house, it benefits me. So maybe I should pay for the full cost of the building inspector and the plan check for that. But other ones, possibly recs and parks and recreation, it benefits the community, like sports program for youth is a typical one. So that's what council has to deal with, like what benefit it is. What are the market demands? Going back to sports or youth sports, there's compelling market demands from other communities. Maybe they have a different sports program, or even AYSO, also other programs. So many cities do subsidize sports, recreation programs because they feel it's good for the community and they're willing to subsidize that. Slide. My next one. So the final question is ultimately it's the city council who decides which services should be charged for full cost and which service should be subsidized. I believe, I'm not sure Eric mentioned before, but we calculate the fee to be the 100% cost recovery, and that is the maximum. We legally, we or the city council cannot adopt any fee higher than what the actual cost or cost reasonably borne is. So at this point, it's always like, here's the number, and then it goes downward from there. Okay. I believe that's my last slide. And at this point, if you have any question about any fee, we're welcome to answer that. And I'm here, and my partner is also online on Zoom as well.
Thanks, Chu. Council, have any questions for Chu at this time?
I do have a question. Going back to the preliminary projects, the CD 030 for the building applications. So what this is suggesting is that if they submit their application, a formal application, then the fees are going to be the 2130 instead of the 2820. Is that how I'm understanding this?
There's actually two parts to that.
Okay.
the first part is the fee is suggested to go down. The current fee is 2,620, 1,820, and we calculated it out to be only 2,130. So if council wants to adopt, or, I guess you see that you can't exceed it, so council should adopt the lower fee of $2,130. The other additional language on there could help the community attract more development projects by saying, we will credit 50% of that 2,130 towards your conditional use permit, towards your design review, towards your site plans. We'll take that and we'll credit towards the formal applications you do later on, as long as it's within 180 days.
So what staff is seeing through the process, through the planning process a lot, you have a lot of people coming in, asking a lot of questions, preliminary questions, but what they're doing is coming back and tweaking. And when they formally submit the application, they're pretty much done. So a lot of the work is actually transpiring in the front end. So that cost is being occurred. I mean, we could talk about multiple meetings where I've had 10 different meetings just to get to a point where we're finally submitting a formal application. We polished it up so much that time has already been chewed up. So you're going into that part. That's why you have to see, but all that work is not for nothing. You're getting to that application where you're getting a clean application too as well. So they're formally getting through that process a little bit faster once they get through that application process. So that's why you want to take the money that we've already received, because we got a lot of that cleanup and front end work done, and apply that fee to the fee that they're actually submitting to and getting that process done too as well. So you're getting the benefit of it being allocated that cost forward, but you're also seeing that cost factor that goes through the process and them saying, well, I really don't want to submit that application, or that's not really what I want to do. So they remove us from that process. But again, we've already incurred that cost factor. So you're seeing some of that benefit for developers that really want to move forward. You're seeing that cost break move forward because they've done that preliminary work.
I just had a question, from a developer and saying, well, he would like to know where the fees are coming from. But if it's that initial, those meetings and it doesn't move forward, then this would make sense.
So a big
Giving
piece,
them that incentive.
yeah, a big piece of this study is what you alluded to already is all cities, this is throughout, I'm sure, California. Why am I getting charged this? What does that look like? Why is it so high? Why do I go here and it's got to cost me this, but I come here and it costs me this? This is a supporting document that's adopted and is formally gone through a process that says, look, this is what it takes to get us to do this process. Here's who touches it. There's just many hours. And you go through the process, and every process is a little bit different, right? Every application is a little bit different, but the report is built on staff sitting down and saying, okay, on average, what does it take for us to get something done? And that's what you're seeing within this document here.
And it makes sense because the fees, they get plowed back into the project, right?
Correct.
50%. So if they're moving
Again, it's
forward-
incentive for them to move forward. So
Right.
you really want an applicant to come in and say, okay, I really feel positive about this. I don't want to sit here and just have 20 meetings and not move forward. I want to be able to say, okay, I know what I want to do. My preliminary work on my own has been done, my due diligence. Let's start this going forward, and we can get that smooth process going forward. You're welcome.
Like that's where most of the fees are, where the unintentional subsidies lie, or is in permits and the
Yes.
building department. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so does council have to approve each fee, or do we go line by line?
We don't have to go line by line.
haven't
We
done
can
it.
report.
Last time we did it, I wasn't around, so.
Yeah, we can adopt the report as a whole. You're not taking action today. You're going to give formal direction on whether you want to move to adoption or have another workshop. Today, we're really going through the report so that we can digest that information and go through it. So council has information regarding one fee over the other. What does that look like? No, I really want to see this one get subsidized. Council can take that action overall. Again, I mean, as a finance standpoint, as Chi was alluded to, you always want to go to 100% cost recovery. But again, that's part of the conversation and part of the action the council will get. So again, today's not formally adopted. It's really giving direction. Do you want to go through this process in another workshop, digest them a little more, give some direction for feedback so we can bring it back to you? Or do you want to move to an adoption, which would be at a formal council meeting on a regular agenda item?
I have a quick question. Mr. Tai, how do we compare to the surrounding cities?
You're on par. We just finished with the city of Farmersville,
Mhm.
and you're basically, well, they're a little lower. But again, it's based on the service that's provided. We focus more on the hours that's involved, and we just multiply by the fully burned hourly rate to get the cost of it. But yeah, I think you're on par with all the neighboring cities around here.
I have a question. In regards to this user fee project review, the last time it was done was 2005, and when we're looking at this, we're finding a shortage. Is the are we taking, Isaac? Are we taking into account the fact that we'll probably are we I read somewhere we're streamlining our fees. Would streamlining and maybe our staff looking and changing the process? I know we were talking about that. Would that save some fees? Has it been? I mean, my question is, where's the impact of was it because that we're lagging on the fee, or is it because it is our I guess our process? Is it our process or?
So what it looks like, and again, this report was originally done in 2005. Our processes have changed, right? They've been tweaked.
Yeah.
You get new staff, you assess, you redefine how that process looks like, you create efficiencies, right? So that's why when you look in the document, you're not seeing that everything's going up. You're actually seeing some coming down. So you're seeing that recognition of efficiencies being created. In addition to that, what staff can do going forward too as well. Just because you adopt the report today doesn't mean you can't come back annually and say, well, we created a new process, created new efficiencies, and this is what our hours look like, right? The planner only touches 1 hour, so-and-so touches another hour. So they actually, the organization we're working with, RCS, gives us software to be able to say, okay, it's now 2 hours, 5 hours, or whatever that number may be. Because again, as you were alluding to, staff is always trying to create efficiencies in processes, right? So we're always trying to move forward and be more efficient. So we can move forward with the document today because that's how we do it today. But 2 years from now, maybe we want to bring on an associate planner, and that associate planner is doing this, and that's cost factor for the associate planner is now X. We can now tweak this report and create not a new user fee, but get it more current to what today looks like.
And
Yes, go ahead.
I do want to add that efficiency does not always mean less staff, less people.
Correct.
Sometimes you need those individuals to be part of the community or part of the staff to expedite processes and do it right the first time. We've seen many examples where cities just understaffed and projects may be signed off, but there's problems later on. So we are looking for efficiency. We're not here to audit the process and completely rebuild it for you, but we definitely look at every step and talk about who does it, how much time it takes, and see if we can find a better process for you.
So RCS works with multiple cities throughout the state, larger cities and smaller cities as well. So they see processes from a grand scale and from a smaller municipality. And they say, okay, well, so-and-so does it this, or they have this fee, or so-and-so's touching it as well. And they give us that information and we kind of chew on it and say, okay, what does our process look like and how does that come around? So we're having that working communication. This project itself took months to be able to develop and get these meetings together. Because you're not just talking about how many hours, you are talking about the process. And we're working through it as all department heads and city staff to make sure that we're recouping those dollars as well.
I think I'd like to just state that, you know, it was really commending that when we hired this firm and we were going to do this, we would come back with some analysis, some numbers. But I think the biggest question is going to be what we as a council want to do and we've been talking about this for the last 2 years. What agency do we want to, you know, not charge, and which one do we want to charge? And this is probably one of the best times that we could start having discussion as to which services do we want to subsidize, which one comes out which one comes out not being charged, because I think the company's already doing their job, and it's going to help us a lot. The analysis is going to be great for us. So that's all I got to say.
I would just say in response to that as well, building on what Councilman Trujillo said, we do a lot of fee waivers. You know, so we're trying to help the community, trying to help nonprofits that come to the city. And so where we can charge, people who are getting a benefit and don't need a fee waiver. It might be a good thing to do that, to shore up these costs here, while at the same time, we try to help the nonprofits out and try to help provide the seed money and try to help these organizations that give back to the city. And they're not doing it for their profit either. They're doing it to help our community. So it seems like being as efficient as possible in terms of saving money makes a lot of sense here. I'm looking at the leisure and cultural services in the big binder. And, there's a park, there are just some items that are really tough. If we increase those fees, families go out there, they have picnics. A lot of these families don't have a place at home, to have a picnic in the backyard, just maybe have an apartment or something. I don't want to charge those, folks more money. I'd like to be able to see everybody come out and use the city services without having to pay too much. At the same time, builders that come in and developers that are looking to make money and benefit themselves in so doing, benefiting the city as well, which is great. Maybe they can afford to pay a little more and the city can recover those costs. I just want to make sure that we're not chasing away business by increasing the fees too much. And that's why this study happened, right? Because this is a study of what the city actually incurs in these services that it's providing.
I have a question too. I don't know if this is the time, but we just had something cross our desk last reading about this lady was trying to start a business at home.
HOP
And
process.
so so when she's applying, it's called the business license. Is that what it is?
The process you're referring to is a home occupancy permit. That's the process in which that individual was going through.
So that's why it's cost so much.
So the process itself is, and again, you look back to the study, it is one of the user fees. I'll pull the number for you at a moment, but again, what happens is if an individual comes back and through that process, speaking of that one, let's say they come in, submit an application, we see the application, they get rejected right at the bat. Let's say zoning doesn't allow it, right? We can refund that fee because there's no staff incurred. But for the process in which that individual went through, they went all the way through the form process. Staff is touching it, planner, consultants are touching it, mailers are going out. They're bringing back, reviewing that data. So the process itself has transpired. Although that individual went to the end and didn't get a positive result, they still went through that formal process and staff time was incurred. So you don't see a refund due to that because the process was incurred.
So even if you passed her, that means her fee every year is going to be like $400 something.
So for that permit itself, it's actually a one-time fee. It's just formally going through the permit. Once you receive that permit, you can continue using that permit. It's not an annual charge.
Sounds like she also did not pass the.
She did not.
So she would not be able to operate a business.
And the dispute cost was pretty high.
And that's the concern, because for her to appeal, the current appeal fee to the city council is $1,600, and the recommendation is for it to go up to $2,700. So, this would be one where if you desire to reduce that, we're in effect subsidizing that process. So, or return if the council approves the appeal, maybe return a portion of it back or all of it back to the.
That would make sense, right? To approve it if the appeal is successful, and if it isn't.
I will say too as well, I know Fernando's looking at that process to create a little more, I wouldn't say streamlined, but looks to something more, what other cities are doing to make sure that our process is efficient, because that process, really what it does is says, okay, we're going to kick out letters to your neighbors. If one of those individuals, just one, rejects it, then your whole application is rejected. So he's trying to make sure that that process is the most efficient and appropriate process format. So staff is looking at that process in as a whole.
So when you send it out to so many, like 6, and only one comes back negative, that's not a majority of any sort, and that's only one thing you can kick somebody out just because of that?
That's how the process is written, correct?
Can we change that?
So again, that's something that staff is looking at that process as a whole. That may necessarily change the dollar, but it will change what that scope looks like and how.
At least more number than one, I think. Better shot.
Yeah, again, I know Fernando's actually looking at that process.
All right, thank you.
And if it's happening there, it could be happening in other aspects of the city too. Hopefully that's why this process is good to see that. Did you see any items that were exorbitant or that looked unjust or that looked, that they need to be changed from a dollars and cents standpoint?
Well, I'd see yard sale. I'm not sure you're gonna bring it up, but yard sale here, it's 10 minutes worth and it calculates up at $20, but I do see many cities just waive it or subsidize it significantly. And the effort of that is enforcement or compliance. If it's too high, then a lot of communities won't even bother getting a yard sale permit. So that's a tough call. It depends on the community. It depends how much you make money as a yard sale. Like if I have mine, how much I expect to get back.
So do we have anybody online on the phone who would like to make a comment on this, City Clerk?
A reminder to the caller that we have online, please use your raise your hand feature and you will be added to the meeting queue. Mayor Robertson, at this time, I see no hands raised.
We'll bring this back. It's not really an action item. It's an item to get consensus on tonight. Is that right? Whether to move forward?
Yes, if your council directs us, what we would do is actually bring back the resolution for adoption, which would approve all of this, or conduct another workshop if you felt you needed to have one to go over additional line items here. But I think the recommendation as presented by the consultant would actually generate close to $300,000 for us. And I think once implemented, then we'll probably have to look at anybody coming forward, and because didn't notice, but somebody might come forward later and say, this is an awfully high fee to pay, in which case we could take it case by case.
Which case the city council could look at it and take it case by case and change those fees, like the parks that we were talking about. Might be an issue there, but people could come to council or call their council representative and contact them and talk about that if there's an issue.
Yep. I mean, park shelter rentals is a good example of that, right? You don't want to discourage people from doing things, but you want to encourage people to use the parks. If not, they're just going to do it anyways. So that's a good example of, looking at that fee structure, gathering some feedback from the public and how that looks. One thing you got to remember too, though, when thinking about the shelters, is you also have that overhead for the insurance, and the insurance continuously goes up. So we have to be mindful of that too as well. Although that you got to remember, your staff time is a fully burdened rate, which includes overhead, which includes insurance, which includes everything else as far as lights and utilities and things of that nature. So that fully burdened rate, although gives you a higher dollar amount, encumbers all that cost factor that builds into those numbers. So.
Question, is this part of, is there going to be like a hearing once you bring this back, or this doesn't have to go through a hearing?
I don't remember, was it a hearing or?
Okay.
This is just a workshop, so. Yeah,
To
so
expand on the costs,
So-
the charges.
But when we bring it back to council to adopt it, do we have to do?
It'll be an agenda item.
yeah, it'll still be a regular agenda item. It would not be on consent.
It's
We'd
on
formally
regular
adopt it. Yeah.
In case
So-
the public sees this and has any additional questions.
Yeah, so encourage, the citizens to look at this document, encourage them to ask questions, so that we can gather that feedback before adoption.
Can I say something really quick?
They have this on the website where citizens could go on to the website and look at it. And if they have questions, they can submit questions or.
I could add it to the finance department's website. Yeah, it was part of the agenda packet initially, but I could add it to the city's finance department website, our page.
Is there a timeline we need to hit this by, or is it just up to the council?
That's
Depending on when
council's
it wants to
direction.
Starts recovering those fees.
So that's council's direction on when you want to formally adopt. Some fees will go immediately the next day, and some, if they're development oriented, will take 60 days for them to be formally charged. So
Isaac, I have a question. In regards to that 50% off the fees and credited.
Correct.
You guys will have that, that will be put in there, right? Because that
It's al-
is huge.
It's already
I
there.
mean, okay, good. That's huge because that's I mean, that actually, the guys coming back and forth, that actually costs staff time, but if you encourage them, that actually saves us money. So,
Correct.
yeah.
So again, what happening is transpiring there. You're getting a lot of that front work done, but we're not recovering that cost because we polished it up so much. Once you get to the application phase, you're just really just moving forward. So it's just recovering that cost and encouraging at the same time to move forward so that they don't lose those dollars, because it is an investment for a developer, right? When you come pay that fee, you are making an investment for a project to try and move forward. So that's how you kind of visualize it when you're going through a process.
Would anyone like to make a motion to adopt
I'll
full
make a
user fee?
motion. to
Is there a
adopt.
second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
We're not formally adopting, we're just giving direction to bring it back for adoption.
Forward.
Okay. So make a motion.
Just consensus
forward
is sufficient.
and- Okay, so we don't have
So-
to make a motion.
No,
I-
you don't need a motion. It could
Just
just be
consensus.
consensus of council for staff to bring back a resolution for adoption.
Okay.
Would you like to see it at the
Put a lot
next
of
meeting though, or
hassle.
would you like to give some time for public to review the document? How would you like that?
About time, give a month,
Fine.
maybe 2 meetings.
So we'll say the first meeting next month for adoption.
Second.
Councilmember Trujillo, do you agree with that?
Yes, yes.
November 1st.
November
Oh,
1st, yes.
thank you, November 1st.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. That will bring the workshop to a close unless anyone has anything else they'd like to say. We'll adjourn and be back at 6 PM for the regular meeting.
One parking one, right?
Mic check, 1, 2. Mic check, 1, 2. Hi, Councilmember Trujillo. Can you hear me okay?
I sure can. Can you hear me?
Perfectly. Thank you.
Sorry about all the noise.
Okay.
I have it. Mhm.
Got it. Got our sub over there. All right. Thank you. All right, with that, we will open the Selma City Council regular meeting, October 4th, 2021. It's 6 p.m. We're in the Selma City Council chambers. The teleconference phone number is 1-301-715-8592. The ID is 823-3399-2546. And we have new verbiage on this. Consistent with AB 361 and Government Code Section 54953, this meeting will be held remotely. Members of the public may access the meeting using the following information that I just went over. When on the phone, if you wish to address council during the public comment portion of the agenda, press *9 to raise hand, and we will select you from the meeting queue. Press *6 to unmute and mute yourself. Tonight's invocation will be led by Pastor Joe Alvarez of the Iglesia Antioquia. He's graciously filling in for the other pastor who could not make it tonight. Welcome, Pastor, and thank you.
The councilwomen, councilmen, and mayor, let's pray. Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, we just thank you for this opportunity to come here and do your work. We thank you for entrusting in us the responsibility and the privilege it is to serve our community. We just put everything in your hands, and we ask you in the name of Jesus Christ to guide us through your Holy Spirit so we may do your work. In the name of Jesus Christ, we thank you and we love you with all our hearts. Amen.
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 Just please stand for the flag salute.
Call the roll, please, City Clerk.
Councilmember Guerra,
Here.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
Here.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho.
Here.
Mayor Robertson.
Here. Potential conflicts of interest. Any council member has a potential conflict of interest may announce the item now and recuse themselves from discussing or voting on the matter. Oral communications. At this time, any member of the public may come before the city council and address the city council on any issue within its jurisdiction, but not on the agenda. No items raised during oral communications will be discussed. Items of interest may be referred to the city manager for further review. Speakers are asked to limit their remarks to 3 minutes. Do we have anyone who would like to come up for oral communications tonight?
Good evening, Andrea Fairbanks, 2044 Tulare Street. I was here last session telling you of my problem regarding the home occupancy permit that was denied and asking if there was any way that we could move forward with my project of opening a doula service here in Selma from my home. I've been in contact with some of the city staff, and at this time, they're asking for direction from the council perhaps, and maybe finding a way to appeal or waive the appeals fees of $1,695, as well as the 10-day restriction that was supposed to be filed within, because this went back to August. Anyway, I was just here to, again, plead my case and ask for any help and direction from the council regarding this matter.
Yes, staff, and we'll continue to work with her on this.
Thank you, Andrea. Anyone else have any oral communications at this time? City Clerk, do we have anyone on the line who'd like to say anything?
To the callers that I see that we have online, please use your raise your hand feature and your name will be added to the meeting queue. Mayor Robertson, at this time, I see no hands raised.
Thank you. With that, we will bring it back and move on from oral communications to our first one and only special presentation tonight, special recognition of the Project Hope event. Councilmember Mendoza Navarro.
So the certificate of appreciation is presented to Roscoe's Dogs Restaurant, Luis Franco, and Jaime Espinosa, who represents the Hope Fest or Project Hope. And we recognize you for your dedication to the city of Selma. Your support with the Hope Fest Selma event is greatly appreciated. The community is proud of your efforts in making a positive change. And this is presented to you on the fourth day of October, 2021 by Mayor Scott Robertson, Mayor Pro Tem Beverly Cho, Council Members Sarah Guerra, Blanca Mendoza Navarro, and John Trujillo.
And I do see that we have Jaime on the line. Mr. Espinoza?
Yes, hello, good evening to everybody, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and everybody else. Just thank you for this recognition. Thank you for recognizing us. My wife and I and the Project Hope team, we really enjoyed going out there and spearheading this Hope Fest there in Selma. There was a lot of clothes that was giving out, groceries, free haircuts. The concert, we had a kids face painter, and everything was free for the community. No one had to pay anything. Roscoe's Dog were giving out hot dogs and drinks, and the community came out. There were resource booths out there that came out to provide their services and just to let people know in the community that they were out there. So we really enjoyed being out in Selma. And thank you for receiving us.
Sure, come on up.
I just want also, I'm used to wearing this now. And we can't, not to forget to recognize the city working. Anytime you do anything like this, it takes a lot of teamwork and partnership, and the city was very generous in their support of this event. And so this event wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't out for the council support and the city. So we just want to thank the city as well for everything they've done to make this possible.
Yes, I absolutely want to thank the city as well. And thank you guys for everything that you did to help make this possible as well. So we appreciate you, and we hope to be out in Selma again in 2022.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I say a couple of words here? I mean, I want to thank you for everything you've done and for the outreach that you brought to our community, the awareness, the need in our community. It was really important. I apologize, I'm not there, but I didn't, when this was transpiring, I didn't know that it was such a big movement. And I really commend you and your wife, your organization. You guys bring a lot of hope. You bring hope to people of need. And it's recognized that the city of Selma welcomed you. And I really appreciate everything you did, your organization. We appreciate what you did and we hope to have you back. It was a huge success. And I thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I appreciate those kind words, and we enjoyed we all enjoyed being out there, and we enjoyed Selma. It's a beautiful town, and you know, we hope to be back out there again and do this again with you all. Thank you very much.
That we will move on to our consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar category are considered routine. The complete consent calendar will be enacted by one motion by roll call vote. For the purposes of discussion, any council member may have an item removed from the consent calendar and placed back on the regular agenda. Council will then vote on the balance of the consent calendar. Does anyone have any items they would like to remove from the consent calendar tonight?
Remove item B.
Is there a motion to approve item 1A? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
Yes.
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. Item 1B.
Just on page 4, I just have one on the register. It's for check number 78014. And it says here, George Robert Riggs Jr., arbitration for $8,392.50. Can I get an explanation or in regards to that?
Yes, I believe that was for a personnel matter.
It was an arbitration hearing, and this was the city's portion of the fee that was split between both the city and then the individuals, council.
Okay, so this was just a portion?
Yeah,
the
the
city's-
total fees were double that amount for the hearing.
Thank you.
And down the page, 78035, Fire Blast Global, Falcon Car Prop and Smoke System. Is that a fire department item?
Yes, that's the second portion of the car fire prop that council approved probably back in August, I believe it was. I actually, or before that, because it was before the end of the fiscal year, so it would have been June.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then page 5, 78060, check number Albert Perez Rodriguez, weed abatement, 1,700. Is that for someone who had a violation, didn't abate it? and
It
the
was a
city
property
did it?
cleanup. The reason you have an R in it because it will get filed and billed against the property owner. The property owner does not pay for that outstanding obligation. It will get filed against the property itself when the tax roll comes up.
And just as a follow-up, does Public Works do residential work like this for homeowners unless there is unless it's a code issue and the homeowner is not abating the nuisance, or does Public Works actually go out and do things like tree trimming for homeowners?
There's circumstances where when it comes to a residential property, actually code enforcement will work with the county. There's certain programs that the county will assist with trying to clean up properties, not necessarily Public Works. The only time you'll see a Public Works actually transpire, the same thing, we'll do the same thing. We'll file against them and bill them for those hours as well.
Got it. So no freebies.
Correct.
Thank you. Anybody else have any items on the check register? And going forward, Mr. Interim City Manager, will we have a check who will be doing the check register report
Absolutely. I'll give you a little more information during my department report.
when we get to department? Thank you for that. All right. And with that, can we have a roll call to approve item 1B? Or is there a motion to approve item 1B?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. First item tonight is a public hearing item. Consideration of an ordinance amendment to various sections of Chapter 10 of Title 10 of the Selma Municipal Code relating to truck, trailer, RV parking on residential streets and other public rights of ways. This is the second reading, public hearing, and adoption. Public hearing report, please.
Evening, Mayor and council members. John could not be here tonight, so I'm taking his place to bring this item towards you regarding our truck and tractor and trailer parking issues that we've had. Hopefully, this presentation will provide you with all the information you need, but we'll take some questions at the end here. The timeline on this should not be the first time that you all have seen it. This was direction from the council to address some issues we've had with folks living in trailers on residential streets, various places for parking of vehicles that don't seem fit to be there. So this has gone through the Planning Commission. They did provide recommendations on some changes, and that's what I'll be going over today. Again, this was brought up because of complaints. We were given direction to make some corrections, and really the goal here is to abate these nuisances. To increase the safety in residential areas with some of these larger trucks, it's very difficult for pedestrians to either pass by them or to see oncoming traffic. So hopefully those are a couple of the main goals, but also to prolong the street infrastructure itself. So in this, they've made recommendations for amending 2 sections on restrictions and exemptions, and then we are adding a definition for recreational vehicles with some items in there that are specific to those, doing a couple general definitions, and then providing the authority for enforcement. The first amendment we have is the restriction on parking of commercial motor vehicles, trucks, tractors, and or semis. This is stating that they are not allowed in residential areas, nor are they allowed in alleyways, right-of-ways, or on highways, with the exception of 2-hour limit. So if a trucker is driving through town, they're parking for a little bit to get a lunch, that's okay. They'll be all right to pop in and take off, but there is that 2-hour limit there. What is prohibited, a truck tractor, just for a little extra information, is a truck that carries another truck. So picture that semi on the bottom, on the back of that truck tractor. That's the type of vehicle we're talking about there. Semi could also include just the trailer, or it could be the full automobile that you're seeing on roads. Panel vans, stretch limousines with helicopters on the back, because I have to have fun with you guys. We don't want those in our residential areas. Anything that is a commercial vehicle should not be parked in our residential areas. So exemptions to this is any vehicle engaged in a delivery or pickup, if they're doing remodeling on a building, if they're providing any service to a property within the block that they're parked on, they're okay. They can stay. School buses picking up and dropping off kids, those are allowed obviously in our residential areas. They may be parked there for events, let's say around the high school. If we're getting a bunch of buses in, you may see some parking in situations like that. Any vehicle owned by a city, county, state, public entity, or licensed contractor engaged in the installation, maintenance, repair of any public property, utility, or highway. Emergency vehicles, they have to perform emergency services, so their timeline is also extended. And tow trucks also are exempted as long as they're towing or they're under the weight limit. And then pickup trucks, we're not taking away parking for just regular pickup trucks, so you'll be fine.
Including
Example.
dualies,
I'm sorry?
including dualies, the ones with the 2 tires in the back that are over 10,000 pounds GVW.
Right.
They're okay.
I'm not sure. I have to get clarification. And actually, I'm not sure if Annalise is on to help clarify exactly what kind of trucks.
And I'm sure details will sort out over time, right?
I know there's some gray areas. So if you've got just a regular pickup truck, you're good. If you've got one that's got storage compartments for tools and you're using it, it's registered as a commercial vehicle, not so much. We're gonna want to get that off the street. There are some exemptions with various parts of town. So you'll see on the next slide, I have a map The area that's yellow is just on the west side of that street where parking is allowed. And then the areas in orange, both sides of the street, parking is allowed. That on West Front, East Front, Park Street, and Todd. We're adding a section for recreational vehicles, boats, and trailers. First part, we don't want anybody living in them. If they're parked in a residential area, they have to be screened. And if you're parking it to load it, you do have a 72-hour window in which you may be getting ready for the weekend that you can have your vehicle parked in front where you're loading it and it's attended. And again, here, commercial vehicles that are not commonly found in residential areas, that would be that panel truck or that utility truck in the previous slide.
About a van.
Depends on a van definition. I guess it would be the weight of the van and the use of the van. So if it's a commercial panel van, like you see those little like Mercedes
Printers.
vans that are, like a solar installer, that's a commercial vehicle. It should be registered as a commercial. So
But if it's a personally registered van, it's okay. Like an E350 step van or something.
yeah, that's a bit of the gray areas. We'd have to look at the actual vehicle code to make sure that we're enforcing that correctly. Parking at your home. Here's an example of screening. The fence needs to be at least 6 feet high to prevent the visual nuisance. And then boats are included in this. I don't want to forget all of our other fun recreational vehicles. Boats should also be tucked away. The top image here, you see the RV parked in the front yard. Yes, it's on a concrete slab. We do want it on a firm slab, but it's not screened. So we want to have both of those components where the ground is stable and it's behind a visual structure.
So it has to be behind a gate or some kind of,
Yes, it should be screened from the street.
There's a picture of it in the driveway though, and it says it's okay. There's a check.
Driveway, so the
'cause
image
you're
on,
gonna see tons of this.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
over.
yeah, so
Like
the,
right there on the top there
Yeah,
where it's in the
where
driveway.
it's not parked in the back.
correct.
Okay, which one's not?
So it can't be visible to the street.
You're gonna
Correct.
see tons of that.
Right.
And I see it all over.
Yeah, and there's going to be an educational component to this where we're reaching out to the public, that there is going to be a notice that goes out. We'll provide them with the information and support to be able to screen that to come up to par with the regulation. But I don't think we'll leave our citizens stranded. It is a goal to get these vehicles out of the visual range of the street. So
So is there a process as to how you're gonna go about that in regards, because there's people that have dumped cement and made parking just so they can park their RV or their motor home. It never stated that they had to have it covered. So now they're gonna have to have it covered, correct?
correct.
And you're gonna tell us what the time frame is, and
Yeah, I don't have an answer on the time frame.
once they get, so are they gonna go and get permitted, or how's that gonna work?
I'm not sure. So in my mind, the way it would work is the education and outreach support, let them know what the new regulation is. I don't know what the timeline is going to be on the enforcement. That hasn't been discussed with me, so I can get an answer back to you on that.
Well, and also ordinance don't go into effect until 30 days after you do that second reading and adoption. So there's at least a 30-day window. And then whatever staff and council decides beyond that.
So we're certainly going to have to get information out, and we're going to have to,
Are we gonna make it
Publicize
public
it,
notice? I
yes.
mean, they're gonna be able to have public input in regards to,
no, that's what we're
That's what we're
doing
doing
now,
now?
today. Yeah. This is the second one, but if you would like to delay implementation beyond the 30 days, then that would be direction to us to go ahead and do that, to maybe do a public campaign to make sure we give people an opportunity to know what the new rules are and to comply with them.
I mean, I would just like to see that they get ample time ample notification because like I said, I mean, I drive around everywhere and I can tell you, you're gonna see a lot of that. Especially RVs, trailers and boats.
Enforcement is going to be a group effort and, we're always here at the city to answer questions. If anybody has questions about how this changed and how it affects their property, the way it's set up and what the process is for a fence permit, we'll walk them through everything. It does give authority in this last section that was added for code enforcement, the community development director and the police to do enforcement as needed. For outreach and education, we will be posting signs at the entrance to the city with the code citing and the verbiage relating to the removal of commercial parking in the residential areas. Flyers will be placed on vehicles to help inform them, if we see a vehicle out of place, code enforcement's driving around, they'll pop one in the window and it's not an automatic citation that we'll get information ahead of. We will also be doing a mailer and updating our city website and social media to reflect the changes.
Will apply to private property as well, right? This will apply to like strip malls where there are RVs that park and stay there for a long time. Would this apply to those as well?
This is for residential alleyways,
I'm seeing where they're
highways,
permitted.
and
And I don't see them permitted in strip malls on this. RVs. For long-term parking.
Well, and that's what I mentioned to you or Santillan, that motorhome that's at Sierra Market that they complain about, that's been there for months. People live there. And they tell them to move it because they can't, like people that want to park, especially at the, you take your dry cleaning, it's taken up so many parking stalls there. So they complain about it.
and that sounds like it would be a trespassing, perhaps, that police would have to enforce.
Right. And that's why they put the trespassing signs up when she was here.
But
I
would
mean,
that be automatically up to the property owner since it's private property? This ordinance would not apply.
This would not apply
private.
to that.
Okay.
at a Walmart.
Walmart and Sierra.
I just want to clarify and thank you for the presentation because I did get calls. It goes right on Mitchell and Nelson Boulevard. It's really bad there because of the fact that you have these commercials. And so I've had residents call me and specifically, those because we do have a lot of semi trucks there and we have, but I know that it's everywhere. So this, my understanding came about because of the residential complaints, not necessarily the commercials. So that's probably something we may need to look at as well for the commercials. But I really liked the visuals on here. So it gave us a visual presentation of what the do's and don'ts are. So thank you so much for that.
I would say it goes a little too far in terms of the RVs not being able to be parked in the driveways. That wasn't a problem that I heard about. I have heard about the RVs blocking blind spots forever and experienced it. And it really is a problem. And the trucks parking downtown and going downtown, the truck tractors, that's been a problem. And I've heard people complaining about that for a long time in residents. So this is on the whole, this is really good. But I think there's some details that need to be worked out in terms of
So
the
just,
RVs.
was it just the screening of the RVs from the street side, the having to put in a fence or slab? It seemed like the foundation was important as well, because these are heavy vehicles. I mean, if it damages their own property, that's one thing, and getting them off the street,
I
certainly.
mean, if you don't let
Right.
vehicles park on the grass, why let RVs park on the grass?
I'm just saying, like, for example, my driveway. I mean, I can fit probably eight cars on my driveway. And I can fit a motorhome on my driveway. But I'm not putting a fence because that's gonna be illegal to block it off. I'm just saying, I have the room. I'm on concrete. I'm not on grass. I'm not on the street. That's my property. So that's what I thought that wasn't an issue. Because now you're saying that needs to be fenced in. How are we gonna fence that in?
If you're garaging the vehicle there, so if your vehicle is there every day, then this would require it to be actually put side of the house or the back of the house and then fenced off. Like the picture that showed, and I don't know if that's an actual Selma resident picture or not, but where the person actually has laid down some foundation, then that would have to be fenced off.
Right. See, that's what I'm saying. You may not be able to get that, but it's off the street.
That's pretty consistent with other municipalities. They tend to, because I know I have an RV and it has to be behind a fence. So it is, if it's going to be housed or parked permanently on the residence, then that it tends to be the sort of standard that it has to be behind some kind of a covered fence. You may want to have a little more time to implement that component so that we can, go
Right,
through and see
yeah.
what, because people
I'm
may.
just saying only because what you're gonna run into, and this is what the complaints that I get, is there is no storage. The only one we have is already full. People are on the waiting list for months, years, just to be able to park their boat there. They said there's nowhere, we don't have the space. We don't even have a storage. I mean, it'd be nice that, when we finally get one, but you're on a waiting list there at Secure Storage to put your boat or RV. They said it's about a year wait. I mean, so it's not that the citizens aren't trying to put their stuff at a storage. It's just that they're on a waiting list.
And I'm good with RVs not being on the street. Absolutely not.
Am
But
too.
in the driveway, it doesn't seem like they do a lot of harm there. At least I haven't gotten a lot of feedback from citizens that's objectionable for the boats, perhaps.
So I have a question. So wasn't the motive or the issue is making sure that the streets were clear and that we would not have any trucks or trailers or RVs parked in properties, and now we're saying that it's okay to have an RV parked in front of the driveway. I think the average driveway in the city of Selma for normal residents is probably about, I don't know, 18, 20 feet. If you have a 24-footer, it's gonna be sticking out. If you have a 36-footer, I had a 36-footer and I rented a space. I knew that as a owner of an RV and quads and everything, I knew that I had to park it somewhere, and I knew I had to pay to be, secured if I didn't have the area. Now I do, but isn't the average park? I mean, can you guys check on that? And the only question I have is the actual issue is to beautify and make sure there's no parking in front of homes and blocking the neighbors' visual. And they have the resident that does not have an RV has the right to make sure that his street is clean and clear. So we're not just dealing with a person that has an RV. We're dealing with residents that do not have RVs that say it's a nuisance to see an RV park next door where I can't see. So to me, to staff, I would ask you that, yes, there is a concern of residents, having ample access to park their RV at their home. And there is an issue where the residents don't want to see an RV parked there. Maybe can we table this and have staff go back and check to see, first of all, what's the average parking structure in the front of a garage? What's the average parking? Because if the average parking lot in front of a garage is 16 feet or 18 feet, you already, if you have a 24-footer, you're going to be sticking out 6 feet. So that's going to be a dilemma. But I would ask staff to go back and maybe I don't know, go back and figure out if there's,
Yeah.
something else, because it's gonna be a tricky one. If we approve the
Right.
fact that they could have RVs parked in front of their yard, in front of their driveway, we're gonna have, they're gonna be parked in grass and they're gonna be parked everywhere. So this is a touchy subject.
Maybe we could suspend section B of it's 10-10-33B, which speaks to the screening part of it, and have us look at that issue
Yeah.
again so that we don't hold back the
A
entire.
little more storage, find
yeah.
out about
Just-
what the
yeah,
storage situation is.
definitely. We could do that. I mean, of course, we don't want it to be a nuisance, we don't want neighbors to, but if it's not sticking out and it's not in anybody's way and that's what they put sidewalk for, and that's why they want to park their toys there, I don't see an issue with that. They've done it right. But if it's, someone that's living in there, of course, that we have a different situation. But if, those are just things that I think we have to look at on an individual base, because it may not meet everybody's, requirements. Yeah, of course, if it's sticking out and it's almost to the street, that is something that we definitely have to look at and say, okay, that's now a hazard, so.
So this is a public hearing item, and we need to open up the public hearing to the public to hear. Would anyone like to come forward? Thank you, Tracy, for your presentation.
Fala 1701 Dino Avenue. I think the thinking is, yes, some people have more cement than others, but the majority of homes are a certain size, your driveway is a certain size. If I'm gonna have a bus parked on my property, or say the neighbor has theirs on their property, I can't see around it. It causes a hardship for me that I don't want this big bus parking on even with my driveway, because they've extended the cement to come up to my driveway too, even though that's their property. It's right next to my driveway. So now I've got a bus that's almost parked on my property. And those things are big. They are very big. I understand the preliminary reason was to get these vehicles off the streets. Because I drive around town all the time, especially on the residential areas. You can't get around them. It's hard to get around them. If there's a median there, it's close quarters getting around some of these big ones, and that they're parked there all the time. And you go by somebody's houses and you see the electrical cord going to the house. So somebody's using it. So that was the whole initial reason to start this. We had complaints. If you check with other cities, Fowler, Kingsburg, they don't allow them like that. They have to be on a side yard with a screen. That's the way it's done. We don't have it that way. And I think it's a good idea because if you have a huge backyard and you put your cement there and you back your toy in and you close the gate and it's secure, first of all, for you and your expensive property, but then it's not an eyesore to the rest of the neighborhood either. And as far as implementation, if you pass the ordinance, then nobody says you have to give a ticket on the 31st day. You can give warnings, you can issue citations and not fine them for the first offense. There's ways to get around people being upset, but it's education. It's education. But the whole reason for this is to stop all of this random parking. It's random parking, and there are very few homes other than the big giant houses that have big giant driveways that go around and stuff that have room for these things, but it's still an eyesore to the neighbor and to the other neighbor to have this big bus parked right next to their house. So having them back up a little ways behind a fence, if you have a big piece of property, even with a smaller piece of property, it can be done. It can be, put it into your backyard. So then if you don't want to find someplace else to rent, or if you're unable to find someplace to rent. And a lot of people want to have their things close by. So if they want to take off the spur of the moment, they don't have to wait till the RV place to go pull it out from, which is fine, but, and then you want to start a business of RV parking?
Thank you. Thanks for your comment.
Yeah, I don't think it's the dispute that we're just saying is because I'll be honest, in my neighborhood, a lot of them have RVs and it doesn't bother me. I mean, I don't think it's an eyesore, but they have them parked. That's why they have the big driveways, but it's, I'm just saying, I don't have one, to be honest with you, I don't. I'd like one, but I don't. So I'm just looking at it that way.
And can I say something? One of the things too is I'm thinking is we have a lot of the tract homes. And so as an individual, I know my husband would like an RV, but we'd have to, do the expense of, because I don't have a big, but these tract homes most of the time, especially the older ones, you only have a 2-car driveway. You might be able to extend it a little bit, but it's not that much. And so just in the tract area that I live in, I know there's maybe a couple of people that have those, like the parking like this, but really when you have a 8,000 square foot lot, or even those new ones that are going to be coming up, you're not going to have that room. So if the individual wants to have a toy like that, then they need to make sure that it's parked behind the fence or behind, so it's not an eyesore, because I could just imagine a kid coming out and you're backing up and you don't see that kid. And so there's, all that liability. So I think this picture here, I think it's kind of not indication of what we have in Selma, the one where the RVs off to the side. I think our areas are more like they need to have enough room behind on the side of their house to be able to park that trailer or that RV or the boat.
Still in the public hearing.
Yes.
So back to the public. Would anyone like to weigh in at this point? Anybody else have a comment? Esther, did you have a comment?
So Alvarez, 13838 South Locan, Selma. I was just suggesting that we get more and more presentation on that. I think I'm in agreement with our interim city manager that we can get a little bit more information on that, because I can see the problem with people living in them and them being on the streets and stuff like that. But I think that it's going to affect the city. I mean, it's going to affect a lot of the residents, and I think it's going to be a shocker. It's going to be a shocker when people find out that they have to hide their toys and not have them in the front. But I think that more information, I think I'll educate the public and educate us at the same time, so we can put this to the side and table this, and then for more information, I would just suggest that. So
Thank you. Come on up.
Jim Avalo, 1701 Dinuba. Yeah, you guys have to kind of step back and kind of analyze this a little more for other cities. I live in a gated community a little bit, and I have my neighbors next to me bring, motorhome. They're there about a couple of days. They're cleaning it out, getting all set up to leave. I know they're there. It doesn't bother me because I'm aware of it. You know what I mean? And as far as, backing out, I know that's, it's a challenge, but it's okay. As long as I know my neighbors know that I'm backing out. The other neighbors, we're well aware of our surroundings. And like when you live in your own neighborhood, you're well aware of your surroundings, who's got an RV, who doesn't, who's got a boat, parked. So you're a little more cautious in backing out your vehicle. Or your neighbor, he'll come out, hey, come back out a little more. We're getting ready to go or whatever. But I would step back and kind of analyze the other communities, how they're handling their situation as far as, because we're a bigger city. We're not like Fowler. Okay, guys, we're way bigger, 3 times bigger than Fowler. We have bigger city that has more toys. Okay. But I would look at like Fresno, Clovis, how they're handling those situations. By Saya, they're a little bigger cities, how they're handling their criteria as far as these toys and stuff like this, you know. That's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Clerk, do we have anybody on the line?
As a reminder to the callers that I see online, please use your raise your hand feature so we can add you to the meeting queue. Mayor Robertson, I see no hands raised at this time.
Okay, with that, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for some final comments on this. And I'm in agreement with just about all of this. I mean, it's really something we've needed for a long time, clean up the code. I think all of us have experienced big vehicles being inappropriately parked in the wrong places. And it's, you know, they create blind spots, traffic hazards, blight, just doesn't look good. It's going to solve a lot of problems bringing this. It could create some problems though with something like the RV, I think without a little more education and getting this out a little more to the public and maybe doing a little more study on the current capacity of storage and number of complaints. If we have data on accidents of people who have actually backed into things because of there's an RV blocking their way, just some, even if it's anecdotal, it'd be helpful to hear that. So I'd be for everything except for that 1033B at this point. Anyone else have a comment or anyone else like to make a motion at this point?
I'll make a motion to approve it with removing 1033B.
There a second?
I'll second it.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. A good discussion. With that, we will move on to item 3, consideration of options for fall 2021 Community Cleanup Week event.
Mayor, City Council, I'm happy to report that through the hard work of waste management and staff, we were able to find a location for the fall cleanup. And it's going to be the Selma Unified School District Transportation Yard. Liz Gomez is here from Waste Management if you have any questions, but this event will be kicking off October the 18th. So.
Council have any question before we ask Liz to step up? Liz, could you step up and give us a little background on this?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and council members. Yeah, from our last meeting where we were here, we were discussing the cleanup and what, you know, and location here in Fowler for that. We went back to our well and we said, okay, let's look at what we've used before and what worked probably the best, even though it's not all of the requirements that we need, but it would certainly meet a majority of them, and that was the Selma Unified Transportation Yard. There will be, our boxes will be on the dirt. There's just no way getting around that. We're going to be working with the district so that we can maybe move some of the current vehicles that are on that lot right now. So we're meeting with them next Friday just to make sure that everything is in place. But we'll be sending notifications out. We'll be probably doing some social media ads as well, just to announce so that our customers know. And we gave the flyers here to the city. We'll post it here and at the chamber, at the chamber in different locations where the word can get out that we're going to be back in Selma for the fall cleanup.
A contract between Waste Management and the school district?
For this particular event, yes, we will have an agreement with them that we have a facilities use permit and our negotiated what we're going to be giving to be able to use the facility, because I mean, we do know that it's an expense. So we've negotiated that, but it's for this particular event. It's not long-term, but at least we'll take it for now.
Just for October
Correct.
2021.
Correct.
And so you said they're going to work with you on hopefully moving some of those vehicles
Yes.
so that they can put you on the asphalt.
No,
Just
on the dirt, on the dirt
on
lot.
the dirt.
Yeah,
Mm.
they do have some vehicles there now that we're hoping, you know, we could just make more space because of course we need like 12 big, 40-yard boxes out there. So we need a large enough spot to hold all those. And there probably will have to be some movement going on there, but the dirt lot was the only available spot that they were willing to work with us on. Asphalt
Only
would,
spot that
get-
you had, Liz?
pardon me?
Was this the spot, or were there any other candidate locations that you
There
looked
were
at?
other candidate locations, but again, we had to look at the requirements. We wanted a secure entrance and exit. We wanted it to be secure when we were going to be gone at night so that there wasn't people coming in and doing illegal dumping. There was a number of, just requisites that we were looking at, prerequisites.
I
this
understand
one
the
looked-
FCRTA graciously offered the old fire training facility,
Yeah,
but that's on dirt too.
Well, and there was also security issues, little concerns with that, but that was our backup plan.
that's always something we can consider. We'll work together, making sure that,
Will
we can
this
come to an
increase the
agreement.
cost to the city?
Just the disposal cost, what is typical.
City has anyway
Mhm.
for the cleanup.
Yes.
I got a
I couldn't-
question. So
okay.
you'll be able to tell people what they can bring there? I mean, I'm not sure.
Yes,
Okay.
on our flyer, it'll say, what is accepted, what isn't accepted. I think one of the main things that we're looking at that we wouldn't get would be like refrigerators with Freon in it, because then that would be considered hazardous waste, so we're not permitted to be able to take that type of material. But, we've had people call us, well, how about this, or how about that? If they have any questions, they can certainly call us or call the city, and they can get a hold of us to find out exactly what that is. But we do have it on the flyer itself, what is acceptable and what is not.
Yeah, it's coming up really fast, huh? So
Yes,
you
it
have to get
is.
it out. Okay,
It is.
all right, thank
We
you.
had to work quickly on this one.
That'll be on your website and on the city website
And
as
on the
well.
city website as well, yeah. And if there's, like I say, social media groups that will also ask to put, if they can go ahead and post it for us. Yeah, today it was.
Yeah.
I think it's back up.
Right, all day. Any other council members have any items at this point?
I was just gonna confirm the date.
The date is the 18th of October through the 23rd.
Okay.
And the hours are 8 to 4, Monday through Friday, and 7 to noon on Saturday.
7 to noon on Saturday?
Correct.
And what are the hours on Sunday?
No Sunday. It's Friday, it's Monday through Saturday. Mhm.
All right. Did anyone want to say anything who's here tonight? Anybody have a comment on this location? Okay. Is there anyone on the line who would like to say anything, City Clerk? Thank you, Liz.
As a reminder to the callers that I see online, please use your raise your hand feature. We will add you to the meeting queue. Mayor Robertson, at this time, I see no hands raised.
That will bring it back to council. Is there a motion to approve this new site?
I'll make a motion.
Aye on that. Do you want to go first and second, City Clerk? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
Yes.
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes,
Mayor Robertson,
Yes. Item 4, consideration and placement of appointments to city commissions as a result of unscheduled vacancies. Have a report.
Mayor and council members, as you may know, on July 8th, the city experienced a vacancy in both the Planning and Personnel Commission. We also had existing vacancies in Pioneer Village and Recreation and Community Services Commission. So we've had the advertisement open for quite some time with no results. And recently, we received an application from Mr. Gray Garcia for both the Planning and the Personnel Commission for your consideration. We have had, I have had a couple of residents inquire about the process, but I have not had any applications actually received. So I know we're looking at trying to fill the positions, continually fill those positions. I know the Recreation Community Services Commission has the director that oversees that commission, as well as the Pioneer Village Commission, has been looking at ways to fill those positions, and has also been shoulder tapping individuals and inquiring if they would like to submit an application to the City Council for their review. At this time, we do not have anything other than the commission, forgive me, the application you see before you, which is for Mr. Gray Garcia. And as you may know, Mr. Gray Garcia did serve on the Planning Commission as the chairman for quite some time. And he is eager to have council consider him for another term.
Thank you for that. With that, we'll bring this back to council. Is there any council discussion before we open this up to the public?
Well, I would like to say for Greg Garcia, he's a great candidate for both of these positions or committees. I mean, he's done great for the planning, very involved. He's not just an educator, but he's a contractor. I mean, he's really involved. So I would like to see that if we can honor that for him.
I appreciate citizens volunteering willingly their time for these really good causes like these very important commissions that the city has, of the Personnel Commission and Planning Commission. And I thought the application was really well written and clear and logical and unbiased. And I thought it was an interesting take on the city's future, and it was well thought out. All qualities I think we need in our commissioners. Plus, we only have one vacancy in both, and we have one application. So, and with our past practice, we've just done the appointment. But I guess we can go through the whole process tonight of doing the election. Absence of any council comment.
Mr. Mayor, do you need a motion or just a vote?
Well, I thought I'd open up to the public first.
Yep.
Bring it back. Did anybody have anything to say? Anybody on the line? Guys?
As a reminder to the callers that I see online, please use your raise your hand feature and you will be added to the meeting queue. Mayor Robertson, at this time, I see no hands raised.
That we'll bring it back. Is there a motion to approve Mr. Garcia's application for the Planning and Personnel Commissions?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, I'll second it.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Garcia, if you're watching. Look forward to seeing you at the meetings. Our next item is consideration of a resolution approving a request for a fee waiver for the March for Jesus event.
Mayor and City Council, the resolution before you today would waive a total of $4,983 of fees for the event, the March for Jesus event, which is being sponsored by a number of faith-based organizations. Pastor Joe Alvarez is here in the audience if you want to ask any questions of him. I believe this is the seventh year or seventh time this event has occurred.
That will bring it back to council. Does council have any questions or?
I'd like to just state that, you know, I've participated at his events. We've all participated in his events. And I think, you know, just like the last one, you know, the Hope Festival and the last other gathering was with the broken neighborhoods. I really feel that these are organizations that really do need our support. And, you know, I just feel that we need more gatherings. It helps our protecting our citizens and our community. And it instills good faith efforts for our community. So I'm for it. And I think it's well worth the cost.
Pastor, do you want to say anything tonight?
I just want to thank all of you. Thank you, John, for those kinds of words. And I know that all of you guys have participated and always been so friendly and open-minded to what we do. And I just, I'm holding meetings with my neighbors at over here at the new location at Grove Street. And one day I want to sit, I want to do a big dinner for the city council and the neighbors there and just see the excitement that's going on there. I know that the March to Jesus is one of the events that we do, But I just want to thank you guys because that speaks volume to what you guys do for us in the city to allow us to work with our residents here in Selma, that they, you know, like John said right now, with, you know, different programs of now, you know, faith-based programs that are working out in the streets and working in our communities, we're making a big difference and we're bringing a light of hope to our residents. And I thank you guys for your guys' leadership and I thank you guys for your guys' participation. And I hope you guys all join us at the March for Jesus as we march down the street of Selma. But thank you guys for your guys' consideration. Thank you guys for you guys' always being so kind to and open-minded to what we do here in the city of Selma, because we couldn't do it without you guys' participation. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to add at this point? You have anybody on the line, City Clerk?
As a reminder to the callers that we have online, please use your raise your hand feature and you will be added to the meeting queue. Mayor Robertson, at this time, I see no hands raised.
That will bring it back to council. I'll just add, I've done it. Oh, we have someone who would like to speak. Please come on up. Ask
Once
not
again,
for whom the
Jim
bell
Avilo,
tolls.
1701 Dinuba. Joe, I march every year, trust me. It's a good thing, guys. It is a good event and it brings all the congregations together spiritually and everything. And there, you know, if you stop and think about it, our congregations are our backbone of our communities spiritually and the guidelines of our community here. And you know, last year you know, everybody masked up, I think, again, we'll probably have to follow these guidelines, you know, for the safety of our community and other churches. We don't want to infect anybody. We want to make sure that everybody's safe and doing this process. You know, we're still not out of the woods yet, guys. And it's this thing's for real, guys. It's going to take time to alleviate some of these issues with this virus coming around. So I think if we do the safe distance, the cautious, the mask up, and make sure that most of the people at least 90% of the people are vaccinated, you know, that's a key. The reason why I'm saying that because my boy is part of the medical team. He's up there saving people's lives, you know, and unfortunately, there's not enough beds. Not enough beds for these people. And the sad thing about it, they've been shipped, you know, far away from their loved ones. And it's hard because now you cannot see them. They're in a special unit. It's very difficult when you have no visitors and it's saddening. So I just caution you on that area. Okay, that's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Pastor, you have a organizer, or really shouldn't be letting you speak again, but you're the organizer, right?
Well, thank you for your kind patience. One of the things I do want to inform you guys is that we are going to have Adventist Hospital out there providing shots for the residents that haven't got their shots. So we're actually going to use this also to educate some of the residents that haven't got their shots, or just to let them know, you know, what's out there for them and the just great programs that we have here in Selma. So just for that concern that was brought up. So thank you. And we'll be giving out masks and all that stuff, hand sanitizers and everything. Thank you.
Bill. Bring it back to council. I know I've done it several times in the March for Jesus several times. So it's a good, healthy thing to do. It's a good exercise. It's nice, nice companionship, nice fellowship, and it's a love-based event. It's about acceptance. There's no discrimination. It's about anybody being welcome, and it's a really positive event. That's what I like about it. Not political in any way, and I think that's the essence of what we go to church for. You know, to have a refuge from what we go through in our daily lives, and I really appreciate that. Anybody can go. They're not judged. They're not typed. They're just allowed to come celebrate their Savior. I really appreciate that in your event. Wish you all the luck. With that, we'll bring it back to council. Is there a motion to waive the fees?
I make the motion.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. Go on to departmental reports. Interim City Manager.
Yes, Mayor and council members. As you're aware, Mr. Moreno will be leaving us on October the 7th. He's going to the city of Turlock as their new finance director. The city's gain there is our loss here. I want to personally acknowledge his contributions over the years. I know he's been an asset to me in the few months that I've been here. And I truly am sorry to see him leave. I wish him all the best. And want to take this opportunity to acknowledge him. Now, in regards to, we've had a number of staff vacancies in the finance department. Prior to Mr. Moreno's announcement of his departure, Heather departed 2-3 weeks before that. And so we have a recruitment going right now for an accountant position. Early in September, I brought on a retired annuitant finance director who is going to be stepping in until the time we are actually able to recruit a new finance director. But I'm also engaging the services of another retired annuitant finance director on a part-time basis too, to help us out with the staff work that will be done. So with and that person will begin on October the 12th. So if everything falls in place correctly, we won't skip a beat in terms of the reporting that we need to do on a regular basis from council meeting to council meeting. And then the gentleman that will be stepping in as the interim finance director, his name is Carlos Sanchez. He will be back here in town on October the 25th. He has started working for us in September, but took some personal time off to go back east to visit his family. So he'll be returning back in late October. But in the meantime, we've redeployed some people. I want to thank Lupe Macias, who's in the planning operation, has had some experience in the accounting area. So we've redeployed him back temporarily to help us out there. So it's we're taking the steps to kind of fill the void. Any questions you may have on an ongoing basis, feel free to give me a call and we can discuss those.
On the claims, Mr. Interim City Manager, how will those be signed? Who will be signing off on each of those?
Well, we have senators. I'm authorized to sign off. We have other individuals authorized to sign off. So we will,
I've noticed you sign off on the bigger ticket items over 5,000. Will you
That's
be
right.
signing off on all items now?
We will, as soon as we bring in the temporary staff, we'll get them signed up to do it. But until then, I'll be signing off on anything I need to sign off on. Yeah.
That conclusion your
That
report?
concludes my report.
Thank you. City Attorney.
Yes, thank you. So I just wanted to confirm for council that my colleague Wes Carlson and I attended the league conference in September, and we voted as directed by the council on the resolution. So just wanted to confirm that.
What were the results of the vote?
So I don't remember the results of the vote. I think they overwhelmingly passed, but I don't have the numbers for you. That was way back in September, Mayor. So I'll bring this for you. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Our Community Development Director, Deputy City Manager is out at the Council of.
Yeah, the International City County Management Association, ICMA. So
Out on work.
he'll be back later this week.
Okay. Our Assistant City Manager, Finance Director, Isaac Moreno.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilmember. I just at this time want to thank, the opportunity I had here in this community, serving this community. I'm proud to say, my hometown. I grew up here, raised my kids here. So it was an honor and a privilege to be able to spend my time here and just grow with professionally and grow with the community and help this community advance and gain strong fiscal policies with this council and allow this fiscally for us to grow and become stable and strong. So thank you very much.
An appropriate ringtone for this time. It's melancholy. Can we give our Assistant City Manager a hand for his? Public Works Director, Shane Farrell. Sir. Fire Chief Peterson. Thank you. Any handle on the smoke? Do we know when the smoke's going to be heading out?
Unfortunately, it doesn't sound like it. As far as the fire goes, the fire is
That what's driving it? The Sequoia
continuing to
fire?
grow. It is continuing to grow up in the Sequoia area. Hopefully the weather might change. I do know they are increasing containment on it, but until the weather changes a little bit, I think we'll be dealing with this smoke for the next several days.
Really hazardous. Have you noticed any uptick in ambulance rides or people complaining of asthma or trouble breathing?
There has been an uptake in difficulty breathing calls, but we can't relate that necessarily to the smoke versus COVID-related calls.
Thank you for that. Mayor Garza.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm just happy to report that last Monday, we hired our 37th officer, Bua Zhang. So we are attempting to hire another officer. He's actually going to go see the psychologist tomorrow and hopefully on Thursday. And if that goes well and if the individual successfully passes that, then we'll be at fully staffed as far as for our patrol officers. So I'm happy to report that. And I'm also happy to report that today, today, this morning, one of our newest dispatchers started. Her name is Paula Hall, and she's currently in orientation. So we're hoping to get her trained. And to be a dispatcher, training takes anywhere between 3 to 7 months. It just depends on the person. It's a difficult job. It's one, I don't know how they do it in there. I walk in there and I'm just, we have amazing people that run our dispatch center. They are the first communication with the public. So it's really important, not only for your safety, but for the safety of our officers that we hire candidates who know what they're doing. So, and I feel very confident with the candidates we have at this time.
So you're going to get that written report, the written update for council as soon as you find out about the next candidate, whether that works out, or you're going to do that?
Yes,
anyway?
so I'm glad you asked that. So I am currently, myself and Commander Cannon are currently working on that report at your request, and we will have a report for the council hopefully by the next meeting.
And then in terms of updates on arrests, we don't really see those on Facebook anymore. Is that just something that's been discontinued because of just no one doing it right now? Will that come back eventually?
Yeah.
Because I know people like to see what's going on and that the public safety is working and, you know, taking the criminals off the street.
Yeah, so that's more of a preference thing. My direction at this time, just being the commander of patrol, I will tell you that we are making a lot of arrests. I will highlight an arrest we just made today. Individuals arrested for DUI and he blew a 3-0.
Wow.
Which is
Is that a record?
I've seen higher, unfortunately, but it does happen. My point to that is we tend not to glorify the arrest. We want to glorify more of positive interactions that we're having at this time, just because, you know, with the pandemic and everything that's occurring in the Central Valley. But we are hard at work, and I can give you some stats on that as well if you would like a number of arrests.
Stats are good. Anything written is good. Just people like see the pictures too.
Okay, and I can talk to the city manager about that. We can see if we can come up with some type of a social media team to get that deployed.
Thanks, Commander. Anybody else have anything for Commander Garza? Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Mike Kirshner.
Mayor Robertson, City Council, just a few items. Just a reminder, tomorrow is flu shots free of charge at the senior center, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Very important. I want to thank PD. They'll be having lunch with our seniors tomorrow. And next week, fire department will be having lunch with our seniors. Some interaction with the two groups, so appreciate it. Talking about the rec commission, we did have a request, and I've talked to our interim city manager and working with the rec commission about expanding the rec commission to allow some unified school districts
as the kind of the site. So if you don't live in the city limits, you can't serve on the rec commission, but if you like to see us considering, we have a person who's very interested, lives on the outskirts of Selma. All his kids go to Selma Unified, has a Selma Unified School District, and would love to serve on the commission. So
I thought they had a permanent member. Wasn't it Larry Texera? He had a permanent seat on Parks and Community Services.
it's a school district representative. So now the assistant superintendent has replaced him.
Okay.
That's a sign from the school district itself. So
This one would be an addition.
this would
to the
be one of the
assistant
other 6
superintendent.
positions could potentially
Would it be a full-time position or just?
to serve as a regular commissioner.
Okay.
Yeah. For consideration. Pioneer Village does allow outside of some residents because of how big it is. So kind of following that theme. Be the concept. So that'll be coming before you soon. Better than that, thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to council reports. Councilmember Mendoza Navarro.
So the first thing I want to do is acknowledge that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so make sure that you see your doctor if you have any issues or just go get checked. My sister-in-law passed away from breast cancer a few years ago. So I want to make sure that I don't lose anybody else. I wanted to congratulate the Recreations Department or the Senior Center for receiving the $25,000 grant. Not sure if I said that right, but it's a $25,000 grant from Kaiser that you guys received. So congratulations on that. And I wanted to thank Isaac for answering all my questions that I always have. And just for the great job and like I mentioned before, I did see you at the PAC 25 event, but unfortunately we're losing a good person. But this is a time that we're able to expand our wings, and I know that you did an amazing job here. And so I wanted to say thank you for that. I did attend the Walmart remodel that they had, and like Mayor Pro Tem said, I can't find anything in there either. It's really hard for me to find anything in there. I did attend the PAC 25 Mai Tai
Thai
kickboxing
kickboxing, yes.
event that was put on by the Lions and Lioness Club. And I'm not usually into kickboxing. It was a different event, but I felt like I wanted to go and support. And it was nice to see unfamiliar faces, if that makes sense. There were a lot of people from all over the valley. And as we were parking, there was people coming out of Cattlemen's, and it's nice to see that they were able to support the local businesses. And as we're getting there, the fighters are leaving and they're saying, we're going to go eat at Cattlemen's, so it was good to see that. So with that, I think that's all I have. I don't have much more to report.
Councilmember Trillo.
Not a whole lot. I'd just like to, first of all, apologize to the council that I did not attend the planning commission meeting with the planning commission. My flight was delayed. So I apologize for that. I was planning to go via Zoom. To Commander Garza, I'd like to thank you for all the hard work you guys have been doing in the police department. It shows. I've been seeing a lot of positive things out in the community, which is good. It's good to start seeing some positive things rather than negative things, and really appreciate that. For the senior center, I really appreciate Mike. Good job, good work. Keep on handling that. That's really good. To Isaac, I thank you, Isaac, for all the hard work you've been doing for this community. Being that, an accountant always looks at, numbers, black or white. And, I was, we had a good talk at the where was it at? Where were we at? At the parade. We had a good talk, and I really, wish you luck, and change is good sometimes. And I wish you luck. You're going to do a good job, and you're going to do well. So I thank you for that. And I thank you and I congratulate you on your job. And I apologize for not making the Lions kickboxing, Bev. I probably should have been there, but aside of that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Guerra.
I met with Brandon Herman the Congressman Valadalo's office, and we talked about the issues that we have in Selma and what we're facing. And of course, what we're facing is the issue with the park. So he's going to try to do what he can to help us out there in finding grants. And also, we talked about the infrastructure, the issues that we have there, fire department, we talked about that, and then the homelessness. So these are, again, challenges that we are facing, and hopefully we'll get some relief in the future. I also attended the State of the County, which was chaired by Steve Bando, which he's a native of Selma, and it was a great event. They talked about the future of projects that are going to be coming, and also it was really an honor that they recognized the first responders and the National Guard that saved over 300 and some plus people in the fire, in that creek fire. So that was really touching. It was an amazing event. The other thing, I also attended this event that's put on by the Hispanic Internal Revenue employees. It's called Hire, which empowering women encourage and give support to women to continue your career and give you many encouragements as to how you can do it. There was a great individual. She gave a testimony of being a special agent, and she told you the struggles that she went through to become the first. There's only 10% of women that make it to become special agents. So it was really touching, and I really applaud her for what she's done. And then, let me see. Oh, I also attended the Share the Love Festival at our St. Joseph Catholic Church, which was an amazing event. They had a wonderful turnout, great food, great entertainment, and I think that's pretty much it for me.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, I do wish Isaac good luck. And I say, glad that I've met you in a few years, and thank you for supporting us on the kickboxing. I did attend Walmart remodeling red ribbon cutting, and it looks really nice in there. So you're right. Once I find out where all the stuff is, I think I'll be fine. Also, I attended the IQ red ribbon cutting, and they remodeled the whole office inside the entrance area, and it's really very, nice, to the city now. Raisin Festival happened on last week, and usually it's in May, so it will be scheduled in May again for this coming year. So because of COVID, it went to September. We did see. I also went to the Central Valley Training Center. That's the third. They had the third graduating class, and they actually had 2 women, huh? I think so. It was first time because the first 2 classes had no ladies in it, and this it was pretty good. It was really neat to see that at least we're getting out there. That's good. And we did finish our first Muay Thai kickboxing event this weekend. It went really well, very positive. It's just not nice to see people enjoying themselves, doing a fun atmosphere. It is totally different. Some of the fighters were from like Sacramento, Bakersfield, San Luis Obispo, Madera, Fresno. So they gives them, a chance to have a venue to start as amateur. So, but then it gave some of our people, to be able to see something different. And I think all that was achieved. And I thank you everybody for the support. So for supporting us on this project. And definitely, I think for sure, we did have a couple of injuries, but they're fine. We already checked on the fighters and they're ready to come back for next year. Okay, thank you.
I participated in the walk for Charles to honor his memory and to raise money for the Selma Little League. Charles Jensen, by the way. Everybody, I think here If you've been around Selma, well, I used to see him walking around a lot, so it was appropriate to have a walk in memory of him. It raised money for his family and for the Little League. I attended the State of the County breakfast that Councilmember Guerra referred to, and she attended along with Rose. And thank you to Supervisor Steve Brandow for inviting all the mayors of the county, South County cities, and we had a table there, and it was very nice. He recognized us. I got to read to the second graders at Terry Elementary School and talk to them about city government. And it was very interesting, very organized, really great teacher. Read Peppy the Pampered Pooch, which is always a favorite for that age group and any age group for that matter. And it was an honor to go talk to them. I met with Councilmember Guerra and Brandon Harriman regarding the important topics of housing and homelessness and water and the economy in Selma. Hopefully there'll be some money that comes out and some funding and resources from the federal government that passes. I attended the Share the Love Festival at St. Joseph Catholic Church. I gave the welcoming remarks at the Central Valley Training Center. This was the third graduating class, and as the council approved at the last meeting, there will be at least another year or two of Central Valley Training Center graduations. Very inspiring to hear the speeches. Like the Mayor Pro Tem said, there are more women now. One of them gave a really awesome speech. There have been 13 Selma graduates so far, so very, very encouraging, very nice. Don't forget the Tejano fundraiser is going to be on October 16th. Benefits the Second Chance Animal Shelter and the Selma Firefighters Association. That will be October 16th from 4 to 11. Correct? 4 to 11. Yes, thumbs up. And that should be a really good time. The tickets have stayed the same. They're very affordable. They're $15. They've stayed $15 so that people can come out and enjoy themselves. And there'll be a reunion or two out there at this one. I attended the joint meeting with the Planning Commission and looking forward to the revisions of the ordinances with the city. That's a good thing, along with the user fees that we went over tonight. That's a really positive step forward to move our city and to position it for success in the future. I attended the same Chamber of Commerce mixer at IQ, and the renovation was nice. I attended COG and the Fresno County Rural Transit Authority meetings on Thursday, and the executive director, Tony Boren, his contract was extended for another 3 years. That review took place during that meeting. And I just wanted to say thank you to Isaac Moreno for all your service. You know, I just want to tell a story before we go, if that's okay. I remember in 2016, Isaac had just come in. We had a budget that came to council that was $780,000 in the red. It was way over budget. And it was explained as well, this was what everybody wanted. This is what the employees wanted. So this is what you're getting on the city council. And Isaac was just sitting there, you know, you could kind of see his eyes bugging out, you know, because he was just kind of new. And instead of having any problem, he just calmly and collected said, we can work on this. When the council said we are not going to have a $780,000 deficit. And he got to work along with the finance department. They put their heads together and they came back, and the budget finished even that year after a lot of elbow grease, and really appreciate that. That was my introduction to Isaac and the wonders he could work. That a 20% reserve that Isaac championed over the years, always about saving and using money financially soundly and having that reserve. And I always appreciate that fiscal discipline that he emphasized and really lived in everything that he talked about. And we're diminished for him leaving, and Turlock is much enriched. And we will miss you and really very much appreciate your friendship and your professionalism. You still have that dog from Second Chance that you adopted. There are many more waiting for you when you come back, and wish you all the best. So thank you. Thank you for your service. And with that, we'll bring it back. Does anyone have any oral communications they would like to make at this time? City Clerk, do we have anyone on the line?
I say we have one caller on the line. As a reminder to the caller on the line, if you'd like to be added to the meeting queue, please use your raise your hand feature on the Zoom application and we will add you to the meeting queue. Mayor Robertson, at this time, I see no hands raised.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make the motion.
Okay, we're adjourned.